Welcome to Folios, the Meter Center's presentations on its rare book collection. My name is Karin Maag, and I am the director of the Meter Center for Calvin Studies. Today we're going to be looking at one of Calvin's lesser-known works. It is one of his polemical treatises, known by two different titles. Its Latin title is taken from the first three words of the book's title page, Vivere apud Christum, to live with Christ. This was published by Calvin in Strasbourg in 1542. This book has a long and complicated publishing history. He actually wrote the book originally for the first time in 1534 at the request of several friends who wanted him to respond to the thought of some of the more radical reformers who did not believe in the immortality of the soul. And these people thought that after death, the soul simply sleeps. And this was Calvin's reaction and response to say, no, that's not true, that the souls do not simply sleep after death. If they die in faith in Christ, they live with Christ. And so he was rejecting these radical reformers' ideas. But when he actually first wrote the text in 1534, several of his colleagues felt that it was maybe not the right time to have this book published, that there was too much agitation going on in especially the German lands at the time over these kinds of issues. So Calvin waited, first of all, a year, then rewrote the book pretty dramatically in 1535, and then waited again on the advice of other reformers, including the Strasbourg reformer Martin Bucer, and then finally brought out the book in 1542. So it was a long time in coming. And this is a very plain, simple book. You can see the nice, plain, simple cover. It is a rare book. Not many copies of it have survived. And it is really quite a fascinating theological reflection by Calvin on essentially what happens to souls after death. And whoever had this book, whenever they had it, one of the owners of this book, read it clearly with great care. You can see there's marginal notes, and at various points, you can see the comments, the underlinings, and then eventually you can also see these marginal pointing fingers, right? It's the ancestor of the highlighter pen saying this is important. Well, this reader, whoever he was or she was, read with great attention and put extensive commentaries all the way through on the margins throughout the whole book. Now, to access this work and the content of this work, we have various options in the Meter Center collection. We have a 19th century edition of the work. It actually contains the text in Latin, but it has a German preface. Actually published in 1932, so the early 20th century. We have a French edition of the text, and it's actually a facsimile of the French version of this text. So this doesn't actually have a title page, it goes right into the preface, but this is the same text, but in French. And then if you want to read it in English, we recommend you go to Calvin's Tracts, where the Psychopannychia, which is the other title for the same work, Psychopannychia, or the soul's imaginary sleep between death and the judgment, that's the idea that Calvin was rejecting. This English translation is available in the Calvin's Tracts volume. So you can get access to the contents of this work in various forms. So the Meter Center is glad to be able to show this particular rare book and various other editions that can help scholars and others dive into the content and engage with Calvin's ideas.